It can happen anywhere that people and progress put pressure on the land. Malibu.
All of PCH is on fire right now.
Maui.
Unbelievable. This looks like Baghdad or something.
The mountains of Gatlinburg.
Get out of here, guys. Come on.
Whenever you have a residential area that's butted up against a more rural area or a forested area, that's what we refer to as Wildland Urban Interface. Tennessee is 9th in the country in terms of the size of our Wildland Urban Interface. And we have about 87% of the people in the state are at some risk of impact by wildfire. 64% of buildings as well in the state are at risk of wildfire impact. The vast majority of fires across the country and in Tennessee are caused by humans, very commonly just by carelessness. And so when you have more people and you have more infrastructure in those areas, you just by nature of the situation are more likely to have a wildfire.
For nearly 100 years, the Warner Parks have been growing west of Nashville. Now 3,000 acres and surrounded by homes. How concerning through the years has the risk of fire been?
So honestly, it's not really been a high concern. In our part of the country with our historic climate, humid, lots of rain, I think as climate change is changing everything, that it will become more of an item of concern that we need to think about and manage for.
It might surprise you to know smoking is still allowed at the Warner Parks, and because it's a natural area, there are no Smokey Bear signs. But it's been safe. The last problem anyone can recall here was a few years back in one of the historic picnic shelters that have stone fireplaces you can rent for special occasions. But for the first time, in a move towards safety and more importantly conservation, fire has come to the park on purpose.
2 to 4 acre grass field, nearly entirely surrounded with a paved walking trail.
Today we're doing our first prescribed fire in this park, at least in the history of it being a park. Part of the reason why prescribed fire is really important is because without prescribed fire, you have a far increased wildfire risk. Regular prescribed fire helps to clean out a lot of the fuel that builds up without fire, and when you don't burn, when you don't do really good, healthy prescribed fires and you let a bunch of fuel build up, that's when wildfire risk really increases.
Fire was a natural part of this landscape for thousands of years. And over the last century, we really haven't had any fire whatsoever unless there's an occasional wildfire, lightning, or a visitor set it by accident. We don't want to have a drought season where we have a big buildup of fuel. And then when a wildfire does come through by accident or lightning strike, then it gets out of control. And so that's an important part. You always have sort of multiple outcomes that you hope to achieve. An ecological outcome, a conservation outcome, maybe you're reducing your invasive species, enhancing the ability of native species to get established, and at the same time reducing fuel loads so the surrounding neighborhoods and just Warner Park in general is a little bit safer from an out-of-control wildfire.
It's gonna get hot over here.
Yeah. Controlled burns like this one will become more common in Davidson County. They've already done this at Radnor Lake and have scheduled one for Shelby Bottoms.
This park has a lot of trails and road networks, which essentially act as fire breaks, but allow resources responding to the fire quick access.
When was the last bad fire we had in Tennessee? Well, besides Gatlinburg.
I'll go ahead and say that any wildland fire is a bad fire. It's any fire that you have that's unintentional or unplanned is a bad fire, and those occur on a daily basis throughout our fire season. Generally October 15th through May 15th.
And the real miracle of nature is how quickly this landscape will jump back.
How quick will we see this char dissipate and some actual new growth?
Days. fire is such an integral part naturally of a landscape, and that soil heats up a little bit. Anything in that soil is about to germinate, gets a little bit of a head start. And so over the next days and weeks, we'll quickly see it greening up and probably outpacing, something here in the forest that has a canopy to compete with.